Hello everybody, Jeremy here, and today I want to show you the Hisense Sero 7 Pro. This is a brand new tablet, came right out of left field. It was announced on May the 23rd and was released on May the 24th. It is a Walmart exclusive, and the Pro version sells for $149.99. There's also a $99 version simply called the Hisense Sero 7 LT. And for $50 less, you get a tablet that has a lower resolution display, less internal memory, a slower processor, and you just kind of take everything down a notch with the $99 tablet. But what makes this particular tablet so interesting are the specs associated with it. It's very reminiscent of the Nexus 7. Even this box here is reminiscent of the Nexus 7 box when that came out last year. And the specs on this as well are very similar to the Nexus 7, and it also outdoes it in some ways. So let's just go over some of the specs of this thing. So the processor is a 1.3 gigahertz NVIDIA Tegra 3 quad-core processor. It has a 7-inch 1280 by 800 IPS display. It's an HD display. It has a rear camera that's 5 megapixels with a flash. The front camera is a 2 megapixel camera. It also comes with a mini HDMI port for plugging that right into your TV. Ships with Android 4.2 Jelly Bean, has a gig of RAM, 8 gigabytes of internal storage, but it also has a micro SD card slot that supports up to 32 gigabytes, and Bluetooth 3.0, GPS, NFC, and a 4,000 milliamp per hour battery. So when going up toe to toe on paper against the Nexus 7, you're like, wow, this kind of takes the cake, right? But these days we can't just rely on paper. We need the real thing, and this is the real thing right here. So this is the Sero 9 Pro on the left, and this is the Google Nexus 7 on the right. So right off the bat, you can see that these tablets very, very similar in size. The bezel on the Sero 7 looks to be a little bit thicker than the Nexus 7. In photographs, the bezel comes off as being really, really thick, but when you actually get it in your hands and compare it to the Nexus 7, you can see well, it's not that big of a difference. So let's just do some size comparisons here. So when we stand them like this, as you can see, the Sero 7 is just a little bit taller than the Nexus 7, and it's also a little bit wider than the Nexus 7 as well. But the Nexus 7 is sturdier than the Nero 7. I'm going to mix those two names up eventually, I just know it. But the Nexus 7 it's a much sturdier feel. It almost feels as if the entire thing is one solid piece, whereas the Sero 7, it is thicker. It is thicker than the Nexus 7, and the backing kind of attributes to that, because if you can hear, let's see if you can hear this. So if you could hear that, what you're hearing is basically the back of this casing here. In the inside, it appears to be a gap in between where the casing ends and where the other parts, whatever the internals of this tablet begin. So there's a gap. So when you squeeze it, you can kind of feel the two coming together. Now, is that a big deal? No, it's not. But it kind of lends to my point about how the Nexus 7, it's no such thing. Everything just feels like it's just slapped on there together. And the Sero 7, you can tell there's a little bit of give in the back. Both tablets also have this textured back to them, which makes it very easier to grip and to hold, so they just don't go sliding all over the place and falling out of your hand. So on the Nexus 7, I'm not sure if this is rubber, but it is textured. You can feel it, and it is quite grippy. Similar thing going on with the Hisense 7. Since I can't necessarily put into words the differences in how they feel, maybe the way that they sound will prove that point for me. Help me out a little bit. So this is how it sounds when I scratch my fingernails across the back of the Nexus 7. on the back of the Sero 7. So there is definitely a different material being used there, but both are still somewhat grippy. But before I do more comparisons with the Nexus 7, let me just put the Sero 7 into the spotlight and do a little hardware tour. So as you can see on the front, the 2 megapixel front camera is right there in the upper right hand corner of the screen, of the tablet rather, which to me seems a bit odd. When I took this out of the box, I wanted to get a sense of how Hisense wanted me to use this tablet, whether keeping it in portrait mode or turning it over to landscape mode. And usually that can be indicated by where the camera is. If you take the Kindle Fire HD, for example, the camera is located along the side, right in the middle, because Amazon wants you to hold it this way. Nexus 7 camera is located right in the middle because they want you to hold it this way. But the Sero 7's over to the corner. It's a bit weird. It's not taking anything away from the tablet, but the placement was just strange to me. So anyway, over on the left hand side, you can see this is the power button here, and right here is the volume rocker. There is nothing on the bottom. There is nothing along the left side. And then over on the top, it's not going to focus, but over on the top, this is the mini HDMI. This is the port for charging, the micro USB port. This is where the SD card goes, and then right there is the 3.5 millimeter headphone jack to put your headphones in. So now that we got the hardware out of the way, let's turn this on. Pew! So, like I said, this is running Android 4.2.1 Jelly Bean, I believe. It's not running 4.2.2, it's 4.2.1. And because it is Jelly Bean, as you can see, you can, if you choose, put shortcuts on the home screen to easily get to where you want to go. Another thing that you can do is immediately access the camera. If you move this over to the left and let it go, you will see you will access the rear camera there. So let's just go back and let's just go to the home screen here. Now, I really haven't done anything with this tablet as far as changing any of the apps. I did add one app, and I did update some apps that were already installed, but what you're seeing here is exactly what you will see when you pick it up from Walmart. And see, what you're seeing here is a customized widget. This is not stuck on the screen. You can get rid of it if you want. But this is a customized widget that promotes a few different services. Over on the left side, if you touch any one of these apps, it will open it up. So it will open up Gmail, it'll open up Google Music, Google Plus, or at the bottom here, if you were to touch that, it will open up TegraZone, which is NVIDIA's kind of like their own little gaming marketplace that they use to promote games that were developed specifically for the Tegra 3 processor. So that's a little partnership thing they got going on. And every time you back out of it, it says it basically crashes. So that's kind of weird. And then up on this side where you see all the movies, if you touch this, and the app that opens is the Vudu app. And Vudu is Walmart's own movie streaming and rental and purchasing service. So basically, when you access Vudu, you can buy movies, you can rent movies, you can stream them over your devices, and you'll be able to look at those movies on any device that also has a Vudu app. Now, the strange thing about this is, even though it is pre-installed on the tablet and you cannot delete it, it takes a while to get started. Which, you know, you would think that for Vudu, which is owned by Walmart, and a tablet that is exclusive to Walmart, you would think that their apps would be really optimized so you can really just jump in. But as you can see, it's loading and loading and loading. Now, to be fair, it has loaded before, a few times before. This is actually the longest that I've waited for Vudu to load. And instead of going on and trying to ramble about it, I'm just going to leave this app. So let's just go back home. We'll leave Voodoo for another time. Oh, and while we're on the subject, you can also hold it in landscape mode if that's really more your style, or you can keep it in portrait and keep things nice and horizontal that way. So anyway, if you want to use Voodoo, you can. There are other options. If you want to use Google Movies or Google Play so you can get your movies and TV shows, you can do that. You know, a bunch of services out there. Voodoo is just something that Walmart wants you to use. So that's basically what this little widget here is. There is nothing else preloaded on the home screens except for this simple stock widget here that you control your Wi-Fi, your GPS, your auto brightness, your automatic syncing. That's standard on all Android. So let's look at some differences here. This is the row of icons that came on the tablet. It is Google certified, so you do have access to Chrome, Google Play, you've got Gmail, you got YouTube, all right out of the box. You know, it's Google says, hey, yeah, we're going to bless this with our awesome apps, and that's the way it is. And then you also get the Voodoo app and the Walmart.com app at the bottom, and you can remove the Walmart.com app. Another thing that you'll notice is that there are 4 capacitive buttons at the bottom. With traditional stock Android devices these days, you only get 3. The back button, the home button, and this is the recent apps button. This button here does this. It's a screenshot button, which is something that I've always liked. I find the capacitive screenshot button, the dedicated capacitive screenshot button, to be a lot more convenient than picking up your tablet and holding the power button and the volume button and pressing and holding until you take a screenshot. To me, it's just much more convenient to simply press the little capacitive button and there's your screenshot right there, so that it's not stock Android that you're looking at, but it is very convenient, at least to me. And once you take that screenshot, you can see, just like in traditional Jelly Bean, that's your notification bar that you can swipe away your notifications that way. And when you swipe down on the right side, there's access to some of your basic toggles, Bluetooth, and we'll get to that power saving mode in just a second, but most of the things are traditional. Airplane mode, brightness, access to the settings. You can lock, auto rotate if you like. But right now, let's just go into the app drawer. And once again, it's all stock Android in that app drawer, with the exception of some apps that have come pre-loaded on this tablet. I put the Conduit HD on there just so I can kind of test out the gaming prowess of this tablet. But some other non-stock Android apps that come on here are Facebook, and you also have Kingsoft Office. That is not in stock Android. Movie Studio is not. News and Weather is interesting. I remember this coming out a long time ago. It does not come on the Nexus 7. I'm not sure if Google pre-installs that on their stock devices now, but this is still a Google app, so I don't really want to categorize that as being bloatware or anything. But Pandora, that's something that was thrown on there. The Sam's Club app was thrown on there. Sound Record, Tegrazone, TV remotes thrown on there, Voodoo, and Walmart. And the TV remote is it's an app that you can use so that you can use your tablet as your television's remote. The only catch is both your TV and your tablet have to be connected to the same Wi-Fi connection. So if you do not have a smart TV, well, then this app is not for you. And you can remove most of these apps that were put on here by, someone other than Google. Whoa, look at that focus. But you cannot remove the Voodoo app. If I hold down on it, you see there's no option to uninstall it. And if there were, it would have popped up. And with the widgets, it's pretty much the same story. Most of them are stock Android widgets, with the exception of composite widget there. That's not a Google thing. And of course, Facebook does not come on Android tablets by default or Android phones by default. At least not stock phones, stock Android phones. And Kingsoft Off, it's not really a big deal. It's not a bunch of pre-installed apps that take away from your phone, from your tablet's memory. At least not to a huge degree. Now, the power saving mode is interesting. This is something that Hisense put on there, and I think it's pretty neat. It kind of works very similar to how a laptop manages its performance. You can choose 3 different power modes. There's a performance priority mode, which keeps your systems running at peak performance, and power consumption is at its highest, and your battery life as a result will be shorter. Or you can have an imbalanced mode where it can just kind of take a little bit from the left, a little bit from the right, or you can have it in power save mode where your performance will be lower but your battery will last longer. So that's kind of like if you're going to just be reading some casual web browsing, put it on power save mode, keep your battery up for longer. And if you want to play some games, it's going to be in performance priority mode. That's what you want to do with that. So just for reference's sake, let's check out the version of Android this is running, in case I made a mistake. So yes, it's Android 4.2.1, and the amount of storage that you have on this tablet is 8 gigabytes, but of course you have to think about the space taken up by the operating system, and when all is said and done, you're going to have about 5.68 gigabytes to work with. But of course you also have that micro SD card slot, so you can still put all your music and your movies and your photos on this thing and really not have to worry about space all too much. So now we have that out of the way. Now I'm just going to throw the Nexus 7 over here, or just slide it gingerly over here for a second so that we can just run a comparison for the screen. And we'll do that just by simply going into Google Play. Now, with a lot of these less expensive Android tablets, one of the biggest sacrifices made in order to keep the price down is the screen. And you sometimes have bad viewing angles. The screen can be quite glary, but that is not the case with this tablet. I am finding so far the screens on both of these tablets, to me, seem more or less the same. They are the same resolution, 1280 by 800. And unless you're looking like really hard for differences between them, you're really not going to find them. As far as viewing angles go, you know, it's really hard to tell. At one point, I felt that the Sero 9 had a slight edge as far as viewing angles go. Hey, but it could have been just my eyes messing with me or whatever, but the bottom line is, even without having the exact science to dictate whether or not the Nexus 7's viewing angles are better than the Sero 7's viewing angles, it really doesn't matter, because to most people, you're not going to be able to tell the difference. So in other words, it is a good screen. So you don't have to worry about that at all. Very happy with the screen so far. Alright, so let's just check out some of the performance, and we will do that by opening up Conduit HD. This is, well, it says it's free, but it's not a free game. You pay by the episode, but this will give you an idea of how, the gaming performance is. See if that Tegra 3 processor is really doing its job. So let's just resume from where I left off. And let's just see if we can run into some bad guys to shoot or something. Oh, looks like I have to go that way. Alright, fine. Oh yeah, it's getting exciting. Okay, I have to go up some stairs maybe? This is probably a bad point to start the demo of this game. Like, you don't even know what you're doing. Not really. So anyway, just let me give you a little background about the Conduit HD. The first game was the Conduit. It was a Wii game, and it was one of the games that when it came out for the Wii, it was supposed to prove how the Wii can actually have serious games. Alright, so there's some bad guys. Let's try to shoot them. Where are they? Stick your head out. Come on, buddy.
Save your ammo. You won't be able to damage a conduit that size.
Alright. Can we just walk in? No? Weird thing about this game, you have to just, it kind of decides when it's going to shoot and when it's going to reload. It's actually quite odd. Alright, one more guy, then we can stop the demo. Alright, so basically, that's just a little sample of gaming. I didn't want to take that too far along. But the reason why I download the Conduit HD is because I believe that can be one of the games to will be a good example to see, how the performance stacks up more or less. Of course, there's more testing to be done, but I thought that would be a decent example. Well, what else can I show you? Ah, yes, the camera. Two cameras, the front and the rear camera. So let's just check out the rear camera. So let's just go into the app drawer. There's the camera. And okay, it's already started up. What you can do to change some of the settings on the camera, you just hold your finger right there, and then you can choose different options. This is your exposure compensation settings, all the way up to +2 if you want to make things lighter, and -2 if you want to make things darker. There's your white balance right there. Some settings that you can access to change your scene mode, tell the app whether or not you want it to store the location of your photos. Like if you took it, man, you want the GPS to lock that location so you can go back and say, oh yeah, I have been there. You can do that if you want. You can change the picture size. The maximum is 5 megapixels. The lowest is QVGA display. You don't want to use that. Focus modes are auto and infinity, and you can choose whether you want to store it on the tablet or on your SD card. So what we're going to do is bring over our good friend R2D2, who's going to help us demonstrate the camera. Let's just kind of move this over this way. Where is R2? Where are you, R2? There he is. Alright, let's move R2 over a little bit more so we can get a better view. Okay, now, so in this instance, it's an autofocused camera, but what I have noticed, let's see, maybe we can turn it this way, maybe it'll be easier to see R2 just a little bit. But what I've noticed, it doesn't seem like the camera really autofocuses. No matter which angle I may put this, it doesn't seem to autofocus. I have to tap the screen and then it focuses on R2. But if I were to move R2 kind of like farther back or something like that and move the tablet closer, it's not focusing. Like at all. When I put my hand in there, it doesn't focus. I have to tap the screen in order to get it to focus. So I say focus on that. I want to focus on R2. So I don't know. Yeah, it's definitely not a deal breaker, but I was just kind of weirded out as to why the focus on the camera just wasn't automatically, seeing the subject that I wanted to take a picture of and just kind of honing in on it. And as you're wondering, like, well, Jeremy, I can't really tell how good or bad of a picture this tablet can take from this video. I would totally agree with you. That's why I'm going to take good old R2 here, and I'm going to take some photos of him with this tablet, and then I will upload those pictures, and you can access them with a link that I'm going to put in the description. And if you're watching this past May the 24th, I'm also going to take this outside when there's daylight and all kinds of light is just throwing itself right into the sensor from all angles, and then I'll take some outdoors photos with this tablet as well, so you can see how well that looks. So, in conclusion, this first look at the Hisense Sero 7 tablet, what do I think of it? So far, yeah, I like it. I think one of the biggest things that you have to kind of get over is whether or not you have the branding of the tablet is enough to put a negative connotation in your head. Maybe you've never heard of Hisense, or maybe you have heard of Hisense and all you know them for are televisions and dehumidifiers, and you don't really you don't relate with that company. You barely know them. Company like ASUS, you may know better. Company named Google, you know best. So you'd be more keen to go after the Nexus 7 and leave this Walmart exclusive tablet alone. But the fact of the matter is, for $149, what you're getting in this tablet is very, very good for the price. And I have to assume that the only reason why it's so low is maybe because Walmart helped to subsidize part of that price for Hisense to make it exclusive and throw their apps on there. So if you were going to get this tablet for someone who just doesn't care either about specs or about the latest and greatest version of Android, this could be something that you can pick up for them they'll be very happy with, because it is essentially a Nexus 7 that's not a Nexus 7. Whether or not it's going to get Android updates from this point on remains to be seen, and my guess would be it probably won't. When Android 4.3 comes out, it probably won't ever get it. And if you don't care about that kind of thing, then that's just fine. You know, you don't have to worry about it. But if you're kind of on the fence, like, well, should I get this or should I just spend 50 more bucks and get a Nexus 7? My advice would be to maybe just hold on for a few weeks, because there's rumor has it that Google's going to refresh the Nexus 7. Probably put a better display in there. May keep the Tegra 3 processor, may surprise us and introduce the Tegra 4. Don't know, but rumor has it that refresh could be coming relatively soon. So if that is the case, I would just hold on. This tablet here is not going anywhere, and see what Google has in store, because then you can get the latest and greatest. The price is most likely going to stay the same, and you'll be assured that you are going to get those Android updates as soon as they happen. But if you care not for such things and you just want to spend $149, a second tablet, a throw around tablet, a tablet you just want to give to the kids, a tablet you want to give to the girlfriend, the wife, the brother, the people who are not tech snobs, people who like focus on their cameras, then, oh wow, that is terrible. Then this could be something that you will want to give them. I'm just going to hold it like this. The camera's acting weird now. So, yeah, this is just the first look at the Hisense Sero 7. Once again, it's $149 from Walmart and Walmart.com, or the lesser version, $99 with lesser specs. So, I hope this video helped you out a little bit. I'm going to hold on to it for a little while, so if you have any questions, just go ahead and put those in the comments, and I'll do my best to get back to you as soon as I possibly can. And yeah, that's all for now. Till next time, I'm Jeremy, and I'll see you next time.